I had a heart attack at age 45 and I went on to lose 142 pounds. In today's video, I'm going to tell you my story, how I changed things, and it's really not going to be what you expect. So please stick around, and I think you'll get some value out of it. I also want you to know I'm telling this story for two reasons. The first really being maybe I can help somebody with what I went through, and I encourage everybody to please comment and engage with me if you have any questions after I'm done telling how I did things and what happened. The second reason that I'm telling this story, and I think it's important, is because on my channel, I do talk often about not being a victim and overcoming challenges and having manners and doing better. And I intend to continue to talk about those kind of things. However, I do think it's important that I establish some credibility. If I'm sort of talking about being a better person and not being a victim, then I thought it was very important to show you that I actually have overcome some pretty big challenges. And the biggest one really is this story that I'm going to tell today. So let's get started. Stick around. First part, heart attack. Number one, women present differently than men. So if that's one of the takeaways and you're having some health issues, you know, it's possible that it could be a heart attack. For me, and I'm not going to go into like boring details about what happened, but leading up to the heart attack, I had been extremely tired. In fact, one of the things I learned as I went through this process and was talking with other people and just like living my life and sharing the experiences, one of the biggest indicators that there's a major health problem brewing with anybody, and this isn't necessarily just a heart attack, but it could be cancer, could be just something, you know, very life-threatening, is extreme fatigue. I was experiencing extreme fatigue. And I'm talking about the kind of fatigue that you could sleep for days and you don't feel refreshed. So as an example, on the Saturday before my heart attack, I had a nail appointment for 3:30 that Saturday afternoon. And let me tell you, I struggled to get out of bed, and I struggled to make it to that nail appointment at 3:30 in the afternoon. I was so tired. And it just, you know, I didn't put two and two together. I really had no idea that any of this kind of stuff was going on, but that was one of the biggest symptoms. On the day of my heart attack, and really kind of leading up to the heart attack, I was having terrible pain in my elbow, my left elbow. I'm so sort of silly and just not aware that I thought it was tennis elbow. And in fact, when I went into urgent care after a horrible night, really having an active heart attack, I went into urgent care saying, you know, man, I'm telling you, I've got the funny thing is I've got like this terrible arthritis or tennis elbow or something. And it's kind of funny because I don't even play tennis. So how about that? And I had a very astute nurse at urgent care that said, okay, yeah. And I said, you're going to do an x-ray or something with my elbow because I was in such pain last night. I was lying on the bathroom floor. I was nauseous. And I mean, this is just really, this arthritis is like unbelievable. And she said, yeah, okay, fine. We'll do a x-ray, but I want you to have an EKG. To which I said, oh, you're crazy, an EKG. I said, okay, fine. I'll do an EKG. No problem. But I'm telling you, there's no problem. Anyway, long story short is I did the EKG at urgent care, and I was subsequently told very urgently to get over to the ER, get in a cab, and you know, there's a problem. There's a problem with your heart. And so I was a little shell-shocked. Went over to ER. They were expecting me. They took me right away. They did another EKG and a series of tests. And a few minutes later, I, along with a lot of other people, there's a bunch of people in the ER, were led, you know, upstairs, and meaning these people, we were all going to be admitted to the hospital because it was not just an ER visit. And everybody in the group went to the right, and they said to me, hey, you're going to the left. You're coming with us. And I was put into another room, essentially more tests, people coming in and out, as you can imagine. And they said, do you know what's happening? And I said, no, I don't know what's happening. What are you talking about? What's going on? They said, you're having a heart attack. And I started to cry. I was shocked. I just couldn't believe it. Anyway, I was then admitted to intensive care. This was the Tuesday, December 22nd, before Christmas. And that's what happened with the heart attack. I woke up the next day being diagnosed with diabetes. My A1C was 11.4, and I was having a heart attack. And so that's kind of what happened with the medical part of it. I want to move on to the next part of the story, and this is really what I think is the most important. So please stick with me, because this is not going to be what you think it might be. For the first 3 years after my heart attack, I really didn't change much, and I really didn't do much, and I was kind of just floating along in life. My health was getting worse. My diabetes was out of control. I was on 4 different diabetic medications at the highest dosage, and things were just not improving. And it wasn't until I got a new internist, a new doctor, and really a blessing. I mean, he did save my life, and he's a very strong doctor, and I generally don't listen to anybody, but he was strong enough to handle me. And when I got under his care, he basically said to me, I want you to have weight loss surgery. And I said, I don't want to have weight loss surgery. And he said, yeah, nobody wants to have weight loss surgery. And I said, yeah, not me. And kind of blew him off a little bit initially. Then I had a follow-up appointment, went back to him, and he said, what have you done about this weight loss surgery? And I said, well, nothing. And he said, well, cajoling me, more discussion, etc. So to cut to the chase, I said, okay, I'll talk to insurance. If I can get approved for insurance for this surgery, I'll consider it. So I did that. And I got approved for the insurance. But you have to understand something. I want everybody that's listening to this video to understand something. I am the kind of person that, I don't take time off of work. And, having weight loss surgery was going to require time off of work, like 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks of recovery time is what I was being told at the time. And that's just foreign to me. I mean, you don't do that. In fact, when I had the heart attack, I actually never missed a day of work. I had a heart attack the week of Christmas. And the minute, after New Year's, business day, back at work, I was back at work. I didn't tell anybody I had a heart attack. I didn't do anything like that. So fast forward 3-4 years later, where my health is getting worse, I'm beginning to lose my eyesight. This doctor throws this thing at me saying, I want you to have this weight loss surgery. And, I kind of thought about it, and I said, okay, I'll take the first step. I got approved for insurance. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll do that. I think the key thing that I want to say to everybody, and what I think is very important, is that I got the green light from insurance. I then took the next step and said, well, if my job will approve me to leave, sick leave, leave of absence, whatever, family leave, for 4 weeks, 5 weeks is what I was being told at the time. Okay, well, I'll take that next step. And so I was going through the process, but the light didn't go off for me, and nothing really changed until I said, you know what? If I get the green light from insurance and I get the green light from my company, why aren't I giving myself the green light? And that was the turning point for me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. So I did it. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot of work to do weight loss surgery. You have about 6 months of preparation, 6 months of doctor's appointments, drinking protein shakes. I had to get on a sleep apnea machine. You have to go through that in order to get approval and a surgery date. I did all those things. But at this point, I was pretty much dug in and committed and like, okay, I'm going to do it. And so I had weight loss surgery on December 10th, 2019. Now for me, it was right before COVID. So I had the surgery. While everybody was, the world was shutting down really right after that. While everybody was at home baking bread, I was at home drinking chicken stock. And another little kind of obstacle thrown in my way with regard to success with the weight loss surgery was that the gyms and everything was closing down. So first part of the weight loss, I lost about 60 pounds with as a result of the surgery. I had lost 30 pounds roughly before I went under and had the procedure. I lost 30 pounds about roughly on my own, and then I lost another 60. So I was down about 90 pounds, 80, 90 pounds, somewhere in there. Things were better, but they weren't great. So enter another kind of short period of me sort of fooling around and mailing it in and, kind of kicking things around and living life. And that same doctor came back to me, and he had kept coming back to me and said, no, you need to get on Ozempic. Your diabetes is not under control. And it was not under control, even losing 70 pounds. And so I kind of messed around with that for a while. Long story short, the turning point with Ozempic for me was I had starts and stops with Ozempic. And finally, I was like, okay, I'll try it again. And went to fill a prescription for Ozempic, and I could not get the lowest dosage approved. And I kind of was at my wit's end at that point, and I wanted to move forward. Usually when I make up my mind on something, it takes me a long time to make up my mind. But when I do make up my mind on something, we're going. Boom. And so I happen to have a 1.0 pen or whatever, bigger dosage in the refrigerator. And I said, you know what, that's it. I'm taking this. And I took that pen and I just, boom, I injected myself. Probably a little bit harsh for my body at the time, but it was another huge turning point. And I started to have more success with Ozempic. Now, I did eat right, and I do eat right and things like that, but I was on Ozempic, and I think I dropped another, probably 30, 40 pounds on Ozempic. And then, so this is all over, a period of really, I had the heart attack in 2015, and here it is, 2025, I'm 142 pounds down. And that is how I changed my life, and that is the story of my heart attack. I did move on to Mounjaro, which has been wonderfully successful for me. I'm a convert. I very much believe in this drug. The drug is made for somebody like me, however. It's not really necessarily for Hollywood, but I don't have a problem with anybody taking it. And that is what I wanted to share tonight. Again, I made the commitment. I think the biggest key factor and the key takeaway for everybody, and what I want everybody to, the message I'm trying to send is, it wasn't until I put enough value into my own life and I gave myself permission to change my life that my life changed. This has nothing to do with going to the gym, nothing to do with drinking protein shakes, none of that stuff. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that I had a very, very big challenge. It took me a long time, but I did turn things around. And so I wanted to establish that credibility with anybody who listens to my challenge. In closing, I'd love to know what you guys think. Please comment if you have a question about weight loss surgery, about a heart attack, about Ozempic, about Mounjaro, about eating protein, about a mindset change. Please, please comment, reach out to me, whatever it is. I would love to engage. But that is the reason for me sharing this story, because I want to continue to talk about winning themes in future videos and overcoming things. And I overcame something pretty big, probably the biggest thing in my life. I wouldn't be here if I didn't do what I did. I'm extremely happy now. My life is so much better. And I have life, which really, if I didn't do those things, I would not be here. No doubt in my mind, I would be dead. There is no question about it. If I'm not dead, I would be blind and probably severely disabled. So something went off in me. I changed the way I thought. I changed how I saw myself. And as a result, I'm happy, healthy, and now I can't stop spending money on clothes. So anyway, that's the video for tonight. I hope you enjoy it. I hope this is value for somebody. And please reach out and engage. I'd love to know what you think. And if you have any questions, again, on Ozempic or any of these things, I'd be happy to answer what I can. Bye. Oh, my flowers this week, aren't they pretty? They are stargazer lilies that smell great, and hydrangeas, which two of my favorites. But I get to enjoy flowers. So I hope that helps somebody. Thank you.